Have you ever been betrayed, maybe lied to or cheated on? The thing that hurts so bad about it is that we never see it coming. Well, in today's video, I'll talk about the greatest betrayal of all time that I contend was not a blind side at all, but rather that the betrayer was handpicked for the job. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Brian and this is Practically Biblical. This channel is all about sharing stories of scripture and offering practical insights that I hope encourage you to explore the Bible more for yourself. Now, we've been working our way through a series about the 12 men who originally followed Jesus. And so at the end of this video, I'll have a link to a playlist where you can see all of the videos we've done so far, as well as a special announcement that I want to share with you. So make sure you watch all the way through to the end of this video to check that out. Now, at any point in this video, if you're finding value in it, if you're liking what you see, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button and then consider subscribing to the channel so you can catch all of our videos that we release every Wednesday. Now, let's jump into today's story. As we get to know the 12 men that Jesus chose to entrust his world-changing mission to, we may be surprised that there were several fishermen among them, a revolutionary religious zealot, and a tax collector. But today we'll talk about one man who may have been the oddest choice of all. His name was Judas. The first thing we learn about him is that he's the one who betrayed Jesus. Even early on in the Gospels, as his name is listed among the 12 that Jesus chose, he's identified as such. So if you're at all familiar with the Christian tradition or the events surrounding the crucifixion and the resurrection of Jesus, you know that Judas was the one who snuck out during the last meal Jesus was eating with his disciples and betrayed Jesus' location for 30 pieces of silver to the high priest and the guard so that they could come and arrest Jesus and take him away. And if that's all we knew about him, it might be easy to conclude that though he was chosen to be one of the 12 original apostles to carry on Jesus' ministry, he at some point became disillusioned with Jesus' methods and sought more direct and decisive action. But a closer reading of the Gospels might reveal that Judas may not have been chosen for his potential apostleship at all, but rather so that there would be a betrayer among the 12 who would trigger the events that God already had ordained for Jesus. Now that may sound a little controversial, I understand, but let me explain. You see, there were prophecies way back in Psalm 41 and in Zechariah 11 that there would be someone close to the Messiah who would sell him out. And Zechariah 11 even mentions the price on the Messiah's head of 30 pieces of silver. So Jesus, fluent in Old Testament studies, knew this would be the case. But then there were some other red flags that indicate that Judas may not have always aligned with the other 11. In John chapter 12, we learn that Judas was the treasurer for the group as they traveled and that he was known to be a thief. John indicates that Judas, as they traveled, would help himself to the money bag whenever he so desired. And then in John 17, we get this very intimate prayer of Jesus as he's praying for his disciples. Now, this is after the Last Supper. This is after Judas has already left. And Jesus prays to the Father and says, "None have been lost except the one doomed to destruction, so that Scripture could be fulfilled." And it makes me wonder, not just if Jesus knew that Judas would be the one to betray him, but that maybe Judas was chosen specifically for the role. So here's a question for you to ponder. Do you think Judas ever truly bought into Jesus' mission? Or was he a plant chosen by Jesus himself to bring about the events that God ordained for the end of Jesus' life and ministry? Drop me a note in the comments below and let me know what you think. So I promised you at the beginning of this video that I had a big announcement to make, and I'll get to that in just a second. But before I do, if you found any value in this content or it made you think, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss the rest of this series or any of the other videos that we release every Wednesday. Now for the big announcement. Some of you may already know if you follow me on Instagram, it's the same name as this channel, at Practically Biblical. But I've launched a new podcast project called the Practically Biblical Podcast. Pretty creative, right? But what I've done with this project is that I've created a 2-minute podcast and I've entered it into an international podcast competition, and I could use your vote. You see, if I win this competition, I'll get some new audio equipment that will help me be much more consistent on this channel, and it will help kickstart this podcast project that I hope to launch here in the very near future. So I'll put the link directly to my podcast. All you got to do is hit vote. You need a Facebook account or a Gmail account to be able to vote, so it recognizes where the votes are coming from. But if you appreciate that podcast, it's only 2 minutes. I would love for you to listen. You may be familiar with the content already because it's one of these videos that I just crunched down to 2 minutes. But if you like it, if you vote for it, I'd ask that you go ahead and share it with anybody you know in your social media circles and ask them to vote. Once again, be sure to subscribe to the channel to find out how that podcast competition turns out, and so that you don't miss any of the videos that we release on a weekly basis. Then come back here next week and join me as we continue this journey on Practically Biblical.